Hey, welcome back to the Secret Underground Lair. So today we're going to be cutting off the ends of our face pieces using our little dominoes, dovetail dominoes, legs. It's assembly time. Deja vu. Anyone? Okay, so I got our first face piece set up in the saw. I've got the edge of the blade here right up against, like this edge of the blade right up against the line. This line right up against, the top of it is right up against also the edge of the blade as it's marked on this piece. So we've got a vertical cut lined up. Let's let her go. All right, we'll keep that little cut off piece because that's going to go on the very end. I'll flip it over and we'll cut off the other end. Okay. I'm going to put that on the tabletop and just see what that looks like next to a leg. Make sure we got our angles right. So that's what we're going for in terms of a leg fit. We're pretty much right on the line. Getting it drawn in tight will snug that up a little bit. And over here, same kind of fit. That's looking good. All right, I'll set up our next piece here in the saw and cut off these ends. All right, there's our pieces cut. I'm just gonna do a little bit of light sanding on this with some 80 grit to get it reasonable, and then we'll go over the router table and start making our dovetail joints in these and in the legs. That looks like a good joint, or a good cut rather. So now I'm going to do a leg, making sure to get the face up against this piece, and I'm going to have to run it through this way so that these two surfaces will meet. Now in order to do that, I need to move this back a little ways. But I'm thinking I should probably make all of the cuts. This is a bit of a risk. Make all of the cuts on the pieces first. So I'm going to do that. Take a risk. This one, I need to be careful as I do this to make sure I get them going the right way. So that could go on one end. That'll go on one end. This has to go on the other end, which means I need to push the piece in this way. Gotta be careful going about this one. Okay, that'll work. Looks good and straight. I'm happy with that. I had marked this piece left bottom here, which means I want the the slot to go in this way on this end, flip it over, go through on this end here. So away we go. All right, there we are. That's one piece all cut and an end cut. All right, I made a determination of which is the bottom side on this piece. So I'll be wanting to put it through like this. Change the view here. See what that looks like. Did a little bit of wiggling around when it was in there, but this part's good. All right, final cut, going through this way. Just change the angle because you won't be able to see anything that way. Not much better that way either, but okay, next we'll do a sample leg piece. All right, I've adjusted my little temporary fence, moving him out a little bit. And I have created a little test leg blank. So we'll run this through. Up to our 3-inch line and see how this fits. All right, let me bring over a piece and we'll try a little dovetail domino in it. First thing I'm doing on the dovetail domino is I'm just kind of sanding off the very corner so that it's able to slide down into the joint a little easier. It is a very snug fit. Okay, a couple of observations to make here. One is, I believe I could move my fence out just a little bit so that we have a little bit wider purchase on the leg. And the second is, I think I should make the router bit just a little bit higher because I do see a tiny gap here which I would like to eliminate. So make those two little adjustments and we'll make another cut in here. We'll be right back. All right, I've made those two adjustments. We'll run it through here again and see what we get. Okay, from a test fit perspective, I really like that. That's giving me the 1/8 of an inch that I want there, which is really nice. And it is a really nice tight snug fit through here. So I'm gonna go with that. And we'll cut the legs. So one face will go this way, then I have to turn it around and bring it in this way. So I'm going to move the camera just over a little bit so we're not getting bunged. Making sure the face is always up against the fence. Okay, here we go. You might have noticed where the bit was going through our old dowel holes. I was getting a little bit of a jerk. But I think we have enough of a straight edge there that this is going to work out really well. Okay, I'm going to try putting a couple pieces together. Let's see what happens. So I've got these pieces partially in and realize I didn't put any glue on in this joint yet. And I'm at a point of thinking, yeah, well, it's now or never. So I'm going to take this apart again, put some glue in there, and then put it together permanently. I'm happy with the fit. Like it is really snug. It is secure. This is a really good joint. So, yep, put some glue in there and we'll put it together permanently. First, I gotta take it apart. Which may be a challenge. It's going. Now we'll take the block out. Okay, little dab of glue. I was a little bit worried about where the excess glue is going to go when I put this in. And I don't have to worry too terribly much because we've got these dowel holes where any excess glue will go. So we're not going to have any pressure issues associated with the little dovetail going in there and not having anything that can fight against it. Also, there is a round pocket at the end of the joint, so we'll be okay. Okay, just in time, I realized that I put glue on the wrong end. I'll have to act quickly there. And there we have our joint. Real nice fit here. I would have liked to have just a little bit more, but I'm okay, I'll take that. But boy, compared to what we had with the dowels previously, night and day. Yeah, I'm gonna be very happy with that. Just gonna try and drive the leg down a little bit more. We'll take it. We'll take it that way. Okay. Put a leg in this slot. I've got glue in this joint, so I'm just going to drive this guy in. Now we'll put the leg on. Go that far. Now let's get the leg. Okay, we have an equally impressive fit there. This is looking really, really good. Oh, I'm very happy with this stuff. That's what it looks like from the top. Okay. I'll just continue around, put on this piece and this leg, and I'll come back and we'll put on these little end caps. Okay, we got all three legs installed, and just kind of a look at the joinery here. We got a real nice even edge all the way up and down that surface, which matches beautifully with this one, matches beautifully with that, and likewise over here. Oh, I think really, really pleased. I think joinery skills have just gone up a notch here. Yep, really, really happy with that. Okay, last little bit, I'm gonna put on these little tail pieces that stick out here. So put that one over on that side. Get the other one put on this side. Learning some techniques too, by the way, as I go. One is stand the leg on the floor and drive the little dovetail dowel in from the top while the leg is on the floor. And then these pieces drive them down in. So, little technique that seems to be working well. So I'm going to put these little dovetails in on each side of the leg, and then we'll come back. I'll set the table up like this, and we'll put these last little guys in. So back in a sec. Okay, we'll go back to the table and get our little end caps on. Now I was quite deliberate about leaving these guys long while assembling these, because I didn't want to, if I make them too short, they're really likely to split. I'm a little concerned that even with these ones, they may be likely to split. So let's hope it works okay. Okay, that seems to have worked all right. Might be able to get away with it. Okay, here we are. I am really, really happy with the result of this. All right, I am very, very pleased with the result of this. We got such consistent and straight joinery on every one of these pieces. It's just really nice. The curve is beautiful, extending around there. So I'm going to set the top on, just so we kind of get a visual of what that's going to look like. So with the top on, I have a little bit of an issue that we'll see if we can address here. That is, I have a nice half-inch gap here, a little bit more, but on the ends, I'm almost flush. So that means that the legs have moved out a little bit from where they're supposed to be. They should be in a little bit. So something a little bit, I guess as I'm putting the joins on, they splayed a little bit. Maybe I didn't get the angle cut exactly right. But I think we'll be able to adjust it. And if not, I've got another top over here that I just might use that top. But really tickled with the joinery though. And as I was experimenting a little bit, trying to pull this in, I grabbed this piece and it split apart. So I'm going to glue that back together. You can see that split right apart. I'm just going to glue that back together. This is not a piece that's going to absorb any pressure at all. And in fact, it's going to be cut off 3/4 of an inch. This has got to move out about 3/4. So I'm going to cut that off straight there. And that'll meet up against the back of the table. That'll run right across. So I'll look at bringing in the legs, and if that doesn't work, then we'll cut a new top. But wow, very, very happy with the results. So assembly, deja vu, has worked out so much better. So to mount the top to the legs, I'm using these little tabletop holders, for want of a better term. Just little figure-8 gizmos. That required me to drill a little hole here using a Forstner bit, a 3/4 inch hole. So that can sit down in that little pocket nicely. I'm just going to drill a little bit of a hole here through there for a pilot hole for the screw that'll be used to hold this on. So I got a very small screw going into some soft pine, so I don't need a very big pilot hole here. So these fittings are not quite 3/4, they're just slightly more than 3/4 of an inch. I think they're a metric measurement. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of persuasion to get these in. So I'm going to have 4 of these hangers off the, 4 of these little guys on the face, and I'll probably put 2 on the back as well. But we haven't got to the back yet. I've already exercised a little persuasion on this hole. I may wind up having to take some extraordinary measures on this section here too because of that split, but we'll see if the glue will hold it enough. All right, gonna take a little break while that sets up, and come back and we'll put this on the table, upside down on the table, and see if we can persuade it to move in just enough to clamp it in place. And failing that, I'm just going to cut a new top because I like the fit of this so well. Okay, back in a minute. All right, using those little fasteners, there was the face had enough flex that I'm able to get it in. So I have a nice little overhang here. Slightly larger overhang at the center of the front, but you wouldn't notice that unless you were measuring it. So happy with that all the way around. That's kind of the look. Again, this is going to be a painted piece. So a lot of these exposed surfaces, they'll be covered right up. So next little bit, I want to cut this off. And we'll cut the other one off at the other end so that we can get the back on. Not sure how I'm going to cut that. Carefully though. It's the only thing I know at the moment. So let me draw a line and see where we are. All right, I want to cut off this little tail here. And to do that, I'm going to use my oscillating saw. I've drawn a line here vertical, and I've got a line on the inside. So I'm going to keep to this side a little bit, probably about 1/8 of an inch, and sand it when I get, when it's cut all the way through. But this is a little bit nerve-wracking. So this is going to be a several pass cut. All right, I had a knot through here. That really sacrificed the integrity of that piece, but it's not a structural member, so I'm not terribly worried about it. Okay, that cut it off reasonably well. I'm going to glue that back on and clamp it in. And then I'm going to just use a sander to get that to where I want it. All right, that's better. All right, gonna let that set. Be back in a few minutes. All right, I've been taking off the other end. I flip the table around. I'm gonna take off this end here. Again, being generous by about 1/8 of an inch. All right, that worked well. So just about 1/8 inch proud there, and I think we can take care of that with some sanding. And we'll figure out where the back is going to fit in there. So before I get too far ahead, I'm going to square this off right here. So that will mean that the back of the table will just overlap this edge a little bit. And with the placement of a screw this way, I could actually screw the back into the leg here and provide a little bit more structural integrity. So again, I'm going to use the oscillating saw and just cut off this wedge following this line here. All right, there's our cut there. Let me bring you around. So that's reasonably squared off. I'm okay with that. So I'll make the same kind of cuts over here on this side. Get rid of all the clamps and stuff. Okay, so with this side cut off, I can now position the back tucked in at this end and get a length of where I want to have this cut. I've marked it. I'll run it through the table saw and we can fit it in here. I cut that to length, but I'm just going to take a sliver off that. And a very small adjustment down here. In fact, I'm going to take this little bit off using the benchtop belt sander just to make a little bit of a wedge so that I can fit around that corner of the leg. So the last thing to do before attaching the back of the table is I'm going to narrow it a little bit. As we were refining the legs, I cut them a little bit narrower than I had originally planned, and I forgot to transfer that to the back. So I'm just going to be taking off, looks like about 5/16 of an inch off the back, the height of the back. Okay, give that a light sand and take off the sharp edge. Much better for handling. Okay, that fits in very nicely onto the table. I get flush right across the whole back, which means I can put that in place and then sand off these little protruding ends. So once this is screwed onto the leg and I have it fastened down to the top, I'm going to sand that off. Little splinter broke up, but I'll glue that in, maybe, or just use filler. And I'll carry on with the sanding and come back when I'm done. So here is our table fully assembled, with the exception of the beading that'll go on the front, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. We'll do a separate video on that. I'll be doing some bending. So really happy with the result of the new face, using the arcs to get that done. The Dovetail Dominos worked out phenomenally well, both in creating a nice tight joint and making it just perfectly in line. Whole new level of joinery here that I hadn't done before, so very pleased with that. And we have the back mounted onto the table. All right, I know I said I would do this in the next video, but I just couldn't help myself. I was this close, I thought I gotta put it on. So I used the blowtorch and my little pipe, using the luthier trick to bend this little piece of wood, little piece of pine, and tacked that on, well, glued and tacked it on and put some filler over the little nail holes. So tomorrow I'll be sanding that down, sanding everything and getting ready for some primer. But really pleased with the result, everyone. Again, thanks for watching and sticking with me on this one. Appreciate it very much. So please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.
you.